History Secrets.
A seemingly simple question can reveal a much deeper doubt. Where is wealth really located? In a provocative conversation about money, technology, and power, a radical hypothesis emerges. What if what we call wealth is just a collective construction? Printed paper, numbers in databases, digital signals circulating through the global financial system. In a certain sense, every monetary system depends on a shared belief, a collective trust that symbol represents value. When that trust exists, the system works. When it disappears, the entire structure can shake. This reflection recalls a very ancient philosophical metaphor, Plato's allegory of the cave. In the story imagined by the Greek philosopher, people live chained inside a cave. They can only look at a wall. Behind them there is a fire. Between the fire and the prisoners, figures manipulate objects. These objects project shadows on the wall, and for the prisoners, these shadows seem to be reality itself. They give names to the shadows. They discuss them. They build explanations about the world based on these projections. But in truth, they are only observing distorted reflections of something greater. Some analysts use this metaphor to reflect on modern systems, especially the global financial system. Money, in this context, could be seen as a collective symbol, a social agreement about what has value. But if value depends on collective belief, then the true source of wealth may lie elsewhere. In accumulated knowledge, in creativity, in the human capacity to imagine and build new systems. Social influence, reputation, communities formed over time. These elements can survive even when economic structures change. History shows that financial systems are not permanent. Empires rise, currencies disappear, new economic structures emerge. In this scenario, the ability to adapt becomes an essential form of wealth. Knowledge, communication, creativity. These skills allow individuals to reinvent themselves in completely different contexts. At the same time, technological transformations are creating new questions about power and control, especially with the advancement of artificial intelligence. Some analysts suggest that technology-based surveillance systems may become powerful tools of social organization. Digital platforms are already able to collect enormous amounts of data about human behavior. Preferences, interests, consumption patterns. This data makes it possible to understand and even anticipate individual decisions. In a hypothetical scenario, artificial intelligence systems could use this information to influence behavior on a large scale. This possibility raises debates about individual freedom, privacy, and the future of human autonomy. At the same time, technology also offers new opportunities. Learning tools, global communication platforms. The same technology that can expand surveillance can also expand knowledge. For this reason, many thinkers argue that the decisive factor will continue to be the human capacity to think critically, to learn, to create, to collaborate with others. In times of crisis, societies often discover new forms of cooperation. During blackouts, for example, communities often organize themselves spontaneously. People help strangers, share resources. This behavior reveals something fundamental about human nature. Even without formal structures, individuals are able to build forms of collective organization. Perhaps that is why many philosophers argue that true wealth is not only in material resources, but in human capacities, imagination, knowledge, social connection. These elements allow societies to rebuild themselves even after major transformations. In the end, economic and technological systems can change radically throughout history. But certain human qualities remain constant: curiosity, creativity, the ability to learn. Perhaps it is exactly this combination that allows humanity to continue reinventing itself, even in periods of deep uncertainty. Because, if something remains true in every era, it is that human societies always find unexpected ways to move forward. As we explore these ideas more deeply, an even broader reflection emerges about the future of modern societies, especially when we think about the relationship between technology, power, and social dependence. Throughout history, different systems of power have used specific tools to organize societies. Ancient empires used armies. Medieval kingdoms used religion and divine authority. Modern societies, in turn, came to rely on bureaucratic institutions, financial systems, and complex networks of information. With the advancement of digital technology, a new type of structure begins to emerge: systems based on data, algorithms, and artificial intelligence. These technologies have the capacity to observe patterns of behavior on a global scale, something that no structure of power in the past was able to achieve. This creates unprecedented possibilities, both for social organization and for control. Some analysts imagine scenarios in which artificial intelligence systems act as permanent intermediaries between individuals and institutions. Applications suggest decisions. Platforms filter information. Algorithms guide consumption choices. Gradually, much of everyday experience becomes mediated by technology. This process can already be observed on small scales: digital assistants, automated recommendations, navigation systems. Each of these systems facilitates decisions, but also directs attention. And attention, in contemporary societies, has become one of the most valuable resources. Companies compete intensely to capture human attention. Social networks are designed to maximize time spent. Constant notifications, personalized content, endless streams of information. All of this creates highly engaging digital environments. Some critics argue that these systems can reduce individual autonomy, because decisions begin to be influenced by invisible recommendation mechanisms. Other observers, however, point out that technology also expands human possibilities. Access to global knowledge, instant communication, tools for creation and learning that were once inaccessible. Thus, the impact of technology depends largely on how societies choose to use it. Another point raised in contemporary debates involves the gradual loss of certain practical skills. Skills that were once common: cooking, building, repairing objects. With economic specialization, many of these abilities have been transferred to industrial systems. This increased productive efficiency, but also created new types of dependence. Dependence on complex supply chains, dependence on technology, dependence on specialized institutions. In extreme scenarios such as global crises or natural disasters, these dependencies can become vulnerabilities. For this reason, some thinkers argue for the importance of preserving basic skills of autonomy, practical knowledge, community cooperation. These elements can strengthen social resilience in times of transformation. Despite these concerns, there is also an optimistic perspective about the future. History shows that human societies possess an extraordinary capacity for adaptation. When systems enter crisis, new forms of organization often emerge. New technologies, new ideas, new institutions. In this process, individuals who cultivate intellectual curiosity and creativity often find new opportunities to learn continuously, to explore new knowledge, to build networks of collaboration. These capacities may become even more valuable in a rapidly changing world. Perhaps that is why many ancient philosophers emphasize the importance of purpose, what Aristotle called telos. Telos represents the realization of human potential, the pursuit of a meaningful life. Regardless of external changes, finding purpose can offer inner stability. Family, teaching, creating, sharing knowledge. These activities connect individuals to something greater than momentary circumstances. And perhaps it is precisely this human dimension that will continue to shape the future. Technologies may evolve, economic systems may change, political structures may transform. But the human capacity to imagine new paths remains one of the most powerful forces in history. Because in the end, all institutions begin in the same way, with an idea, a collective imagination, a vision of how the world could be different. And as long as that capacity exists, the future will remain open to new possibilities. The history of humanity is a journey, filled with discoveries, enigmas, and mysteries. Some have been understood, others still challenge our understanding. And it is precisely in these mysteries that we find the most fascinating questions. Subscribe to the channel and continue exploring the secrets of history. Because some secrets of history are still waiting to be revealed.